it's time. Well, actually, before we have a look at the papers, I just want to message a tweet which I got from Rosie Izzard, who's I can't show you, but she sent me a picture of a bag puss with their darling dog Benji, who's unfortunately no longer with them.
But they've got a big bag.
But they've got the picture.
Just the sort you've been dreaming of. He was talking about the fact that it was his favourite TV programme when he was little, and if he could find a nice big squashy soft toy bag puss, you'd still like one.
Well, I still would like one. They're lovely. But Benji's a lovely boy, so I'm glad you've still got that lovely memory, Rosie. It's nice, and thank you for sharing it. Should we have a look at the papers then?
Yes. With us this morning, Benedict Spence and Andrew Eborn. And Benedict has been looking at the Westminster scandal.
It's difficult to say.
The Mail on Sunday.
Even more difficult to stomach. Supposedly there are going to be fresh scandals, more coming down the line. Of course, we had a couple of weeks ago Neil Parish resigned after he was accused of looking at pornography in the chamber of the House of Commons. And of course, before him we had David Warburton, who was accused by several former members of staff, several people, of being inappropriate. And supposedly there is at least one former cabinet minister, possibly a second one. There is another case of a Tory minister who's been inappropriate with a female MP.
So is it all Tories?
I mean, so far, yes, of course, allegedly, it's important to say. It's so far, it seems to be all Tories, yes. It's quite unedifying, isn't it, to think that there's even more of this sort of stuff coming down the line.
I can guarantee in all the ways that these smear campaigns work, you get it from the other side.
Oh, yeah.
Because what happens, and that's the thing about the narrative of media at the moment. You shine a little spotlight, there will be more revelations from Tractorgate, which was an extraordinary story in the first place, to the other ones as well. It is a very serious issue, but it's cross-party, it's cross-industry, it's cross all sorts of things. We need to address it in a sensible way, rather than just shining a bit of scandal on one particular party.
Yes, we need to. Yeah, that's the thing. Right now it's on the Tories, but as we saw, of course, with Partygate, then it became Beergate. It went over to the other side. It's just a question of these stories coming out and for whose benefit is it. But, you know, in many ways, these stories just don't surprise me. You think about actually the kind of people a lot of politicians are. They're people who have worked in the party for a very long time. They've sort of worked their way up. They find themselves in a position of power with subordinates who have not a lot of power, and there's not really an HR process in Parliament. It's not a surprise when you combine that with the amount of alcohol that is consumed and, you know, the amount of late nights that are worked. People will misbehave. All sorts of things happen. Yeah, and this is not a new story. You know, we've known about the misbehaviour of MPs across party for decades in Westminster.
Westminster has been a bit of a sleaze pit.
Yeah.
Probably since it's existed, I think.
I mean, part of that, I think, is the problem. There is just an acceptance that, oh, this is how politics is done, this is how people behave, and that there's never actually been a concerted push back against it. There's plenty of whistleblowing, you know, there have been people caught in scandals before, but there hasn't been sort of any attempt at, you know, properly changing the culture. And I have to be honest with you, a lot of the suggestions for how it is we get rid of sleaze in Westminster, they just seem a little bit piecemeal. I mean, you know, like when we had the Neil Parish story, that somebody came out with the suggestion that, oh, well, what we should do is we should have more women. Like, that's going to change anything. When you had Angela Rayner involved in a scandal at the same time, and another Labour MP, a female MP, was accused of being drunk and disorderly on the terrace. It's about the kind of people that find themselves in this position. They want power, and they have very little scrutiny.
Do you close down the bars, then? You said it's absolutely fueled by alcohol.
I don't think you can close down. I don't think you. I mean, it is fueled by alcohol. I don't think you can close down the bars. I think it is about the caliber. I think it's about.
Why not?
Because do you know what? It's not the majority of people. It is always just a certain subject, and I think it's to do with the caliber of person that both parties, both major parties, actually recruit. It's about people who, you know, they say the right things, they do the right things. They're not necessarily the right characters when it comes to when they're in a position of power. And I think there needs to be a lot more scrutiny. This has been said actually by a number of MPs, that the last two general elections have been done sort of so on the hoof, so quickly, that there hasn't been proper scrutiny of candidates.
It's a place of work, though. Why do they need to booze? And because they are drinking and then going back into the chamber, whatever, to vote.
The difficulty is, in lots of other aspects, in lots of other areas of life, people do drink when it's sort of outside of work. The difference with Westminster is it goes on at very different hours. It's an all-consuming sort of 24-hour a day kind of job. You do need to let off steam. I don't think it's necessarily the fact that there are bars present that's the issue. I do think it's about the behaviour of a minority of individuals.
And you can actually do a lot of work in a social situation. As you know, my background is as a barrister. One of the requirements is you have to do 40 dinners. And the idea is that you go to the inn and you get to meet your fellow barristers and that sort of community. So discussing things in a more relaxed situation is right. We need, however, to look at the evil that there is about this sort of stuff, which is cross-party. And as I always say, there will be more revelations. What always fascinates me is about the timing when it comes out and so on and so forth.
Yes.
It's like the Pope is a Catholic. My goodness, here's another sex pest in Westminster. And what I'm really
It does feel very orchestrated.
It does. It's totally orchestrated. And what I also love is the whole everything's suddenly become a gate. How on earth has suddenly become a gate? It used to be.
I love it's anything gate.
I know. Watergate was a proper gate, wasn't it? Now everything's a gate. Tractor gate.
Well, take us on to something much more edifying.
This is like, I tell you what, the story, the way that the media focus on particular stories. We've all been talking about COVID and so on and so forth. Cancer basically affects several people. There's like 1 in 4 deaths in the UK. 28%, a bit more than that. 28% of deaths in the UK are through cancer. One of the heroes for the last several weeks is this wonderful Dame Deborah James, visited by Prince William earlier this week. And basically she's saying she's going to go out with a massive smile, no regrets, shining a spotlight on this and talking about it so publicly. Bowel babe. And she did this thing, you, me and the big C. She's raised over £6 million. But not just money, she's raised awareness of something that affects so many people. That bravery, for me, she is an absolute saint. And the more we can cover those good stories, get people talking about it, get people who can help in the future. It's a tragic story from her point of view, but the family's there. And I think her legacy is absolutely, let's raise money, let's raise awareness for what is a devastating thing for many, many people.
It's interesting, though. It reminds me of, I was just Googling Stephen Sutton to remember when he died. He was a remarkable young man who was very similar to what Dame Deborah is with the cancer podcast that she was part of. And Stephen went and talked a lot about suffering from, he was bowel cancer as well, and what he went through. And he gave a lot of public speeches and things before he became well known, and his amazing fundraising effort. Was it 20-odd million he raised? Yeah. It was a huge amount. Oh. But he was 19 when he died. It is 2014.
And during COVID, we lost Lynn Folds-Wood, who was also a massive campaigner against bowel cancer. She had it herself.
I mean, cancer as a topic is going to be pushed back to the top of the agenda because of the pandemic, because of all the blocks that were put on cancer treatment and that sort of thing. I mean, we talked at the top of the programme, didn't we, about Jeremy Hunt in the Times or the Telegraph, I forget which one, talking about how there needs to be reform in the NHS. In the Mail on Sunday today, we also have Wes Streeting talking about his own treatment for kidney cancer and, the troubles that he went through. And it is important to keep bringing these stories from. We can't push it to one side.
Let's just lighten it just for the last 60 seconds. Looking at Benedict, looking in the Observer at how the doctor of old, David Tennant, deals with stage fright.
Yes, he deals with it by eating chocolate, which is, I think that's a fairly sensible move. I mean, the Queen is 96 and apparently she eats dark chocolate every evening. She has a square of it. That helps with her constitution. Chocolate is a wonderful thing, as the Mayans knew perfectly well. You don't have to have it with lots of sugar. It's a bit of a superfood. People extol the virtues of things like cacao. It does wonders for your mental health, apparently. It boosts endorphins. So I'm not surprised to hear this. Yeah.
Well, it's all right for David Tennant because he's built like a beanpole, isn't it? That's true. Very, very slim.
He's got the metabolism.
I'm very surprised that he still suffers from stage fright. I mean, obviously, he's a very famous Doctor Who, amongst all of the other things he does. We went to see him in Hamlet at the RSC in Stratford. I took the kids, and he was marvellous in that. I'm very surprised to find that he suffers from stage fright.
You'll find some of the biggest names suffer from stage fright. And again, talking about it helps others in the profession. I know many people who would have to go and visit the toilet several times before they go on stage.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. So
Andrew was terrified before we came up.
Absolutely. Shy and
Absolutely, yes, it can be.
Yeah, oh well, I love David Tennant.
Yeah. I think he's one of the best doctors ever.
Definitely one of the best doctors, and a new exciting doctor to come as well.
Yes, we don't know very much about him.
Well, I saw him in Sex Education. I mean, it is.
He's really good, isn't he?
He is a brilliant actor, and I think it's the next logical stage in Doctor Who's, and I think it works on that sort of basis. So, well done to them for casting a great actor. You're going to hear a lot more about him.
Well, Russell T Davies cast him, and I'm a big fan of Russell.
I love Russell.
He's going to bring it back on track, I hope. Andrew, Benedict, thank you both very much indeed. Good to see you this week.
Nice to see you too.